Hi there.
Hi, Claire. It's so nice to see you and have you here visiting over Mother's Day.
Yes, it's wonderful to be here.
Thank you.
So this is my grandmother. What's your name? What's your full name?
Geraldine Fletcher.
And how old are you?
90.
You're 90. And you don't look it.
I don't feel that it could be possibly that long.
It's not. It's not that. It's not possible. Because I'm not that old either.
Wonderful. Don't get old.
I won't. And so we're going to chat today a lot about your life and your mentorship, because mentorship is so important for all of us in our growth, but it's also very important for women.
All right.
And the progressiveness of women and how you have allowed that in your life and allowed it in my life as well.
Thank you.
So let's start with your journey and what that has looked like.
It was a very fast trip once I had my children in school, but it was a wonderful journey. I enjoyed being a teacher. I taught from the age of 19 until I stayed in school teaching and working with students for quite a number of years. So I really worked until I was 70.
Right. And so you were a teacher of home economics.
When I started, yes.
And you had a bachelor's degree.
Right.
And then you obtained your master's degree.
I went back to school, did not drop out of anything, kept working, but would work on a degree at night.
Right. Now, you worked on that degree at night when you were a mother of 3 young girls.
Yes.
And it was just you and the 3 young girls.
Right.
No one else at home.
Well, there was the first 5 years of their lives.
Right. Sure. But after that, it was just you and the girls.
That's right.
Yes. And so you went to night school and obtained your master's.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the school board gave us an opportunity to get additional pay, provided we got additional hours.
Right.
And the first opportunity was to get into a master's program. You didn't get any pay raise until you achieved the master's.
Right.
And then after that, then by that time I was spoiled. I decided this is a great thing.
Yes, ma'am.
And so they had another program where you could get additional hours, you got additional pay.
Right.
Just basically was how it was. And when you got up to 30 additional hours, you more or less had the master's,
right.
But 30 additional hours, then you got another pay raise.
There you go.
So I continued along that path a good while.
Yes. And then you were, with that master's, you became a counselor.
Yes. I got a master's degree in counseling.
And then you retired. You really didn't retire officially.
No, I retired because at that time we had a real drop in the Louisiana economy, perhaps around the country. And our budget would not allow but so many people, all right? So they dismissed 18 people.
Okay.
And that takes a real hardship on a school.
Yes.
And I decided I would go rather than have the other counselor that still had young children, and he needed to have his finished. My 3 girls were out of school.
Right, right.
So I got out. I didn't know that I would have an opportunity to go back. But 3 months later, they called and said, "Aren't you tired of being at home?" I said, "You better believe."
Yeah.
And so that was the thing of going back.
Yes. So you also, though, managed a lot of rental property.
Yeah.
That was the families. And then you also took care of family members because, let's be clear, how old was your mother when she passed?
104. And I was helping to take care of her.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure that she was going to outlive. I thought, I might precede her the way that was going.
Right.
It was hard.
It was hard, yes. Yes. And so you did that. You worked full time. You had raised 3 successful daughters that were all educated and beautiful in their own right. And you managed the family rental property. You were taking care of your elderly mother. And then she passed. And when she passed, what did you take on?
What did I take on?
Mm-hmm.
Property that had remained in the family, but not passed on to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And since I was an only child, then that automatically became my responsibility.
Right.
Not my joy time, but a responsibility. I tried everything in the world to know how to get rid of that property and not have to keep up the mowing on 15 acres and so forth. Nothing worked. Everybody advised me, don't put up a trailer park.
Right.
And I agreed with that. So it came out to be the best thing was to build a subdivision.
And you developed that subdivision all on your own?
No, I had help. The way I had help, Claire, came out to I knew nothing.
Okay.
About a subdivision.
Okay.
And not to just assume that I could do this.
Well.
So I turned to God for help.
Okay. Yes.
And I told him, I said, "Lord, you know everything about everything. And right now I know nothing about nothing. And if you will lead, I will follow."
Yes, ma'am.
And he took the ball and ran with it. I never saw things happen so quick and so well in my life.
Yes, ma'am. And you developed it. You developed it with his help but you were the sole developer.
I was the sole owner.
Yes, and the sole developer. And how many lots were in the subdivision that you developed?
15. The reason for that was the parish required you to have a septic tank because the parish could not afford to put up septic, the proper drainage.
Right.
And so with 1 acre property, you could have a septic system.
Right.
And that's how everybody in my neighborhood got through their problems with drainage.
Yes, yes. And so you developed the subdivision and then you built your own home again. At what age?
Gee. 80 something.
Exactly. Because your mother also had built her last home when she was 80 as well.
That's exactly right.
Yes, ma'am.
You have such a good memory.
I try. And so it had run in the family. And then, so you were in your 80s developing a subdivision and building this home that we're in today and living it,
she passed on before she got to see it finished.
Yes, she did. And then so that has been the journey so far. And then, because now you've been enjoying this home and your neighbors and your family and your friends.
And I remembered many a thing in her home, which did not really lend itself to somebody in a wheelchair with narrow doors.
Right.
And so many things I learned from her home that I incorporated in this one, and I'm benefiting from
Sure.
the profits.
You learned those lessons, yes. And then we're going to go back a little bit, because what you had done is you entered what I call the singlehood back in 1960 with 3 little girls. And you were a woman with a bachelor's degree at that time, which was somewhat unheard of. And you then paved a way for not just yourself, but other women. And then you obtained a master's degree. You supported 3 little girls all on your own income, with no support from any kind.
Tried 3 girls in college, 3 weddings, boom, boom, boom.
Yes, ma'am.
It was quite a fun thing.
It can be fun because what you focus on expands.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am. And so you experienced a lot of trials and a lot of joys. And you have been a pillar of strength through all of that. So let's talk about a lot of different things through the journey. And what do you see holding women back the most?
They need to look in the mirror and see whose fault it is. Women don't give themselves credit for being able to live their own lives.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It had been in my generation, it was the thing always to look for a male, to be someone who earned your living and told you what to do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But if they would give themselves credit, women are perfectly capable of managing themselves and their money without having any outside help if they will just work on it.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. Yes, ma'am. And so give me an example of, can you share the story of the newspaper article?
That was one of the fun things in my life. I had already learned that all the bosses are male. And you don't cross them.
Right.
You work with them.
Absolutely.
And I had a boss who really did not want to divide his domain with anybody else, I can assure you. And at that time, the state of Louisiana had ventured forward and opened the door, not only for women, but for all students who excelled and did well academically, to be able to enter college half a day in their senior year.
Of high school.
In high school. This had never been done in Louisiana until then. Made a very little short column in the newspaper, but it made a big impression on me. And as a counselor, I had all the state regulations in a bulletin, which told the requirements for getting into college as a high school student. This fit our lives to the T. The oldest daughter was a high school senior. Very smart. And this fit that she could go to college a half a day, high school a half a day, finish high school requirements with college credits.
Right.
And I thought, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So about 15 other students in the parish also had parents who were well educated. And to make a long story short, I had received an announcement in my office by an assistant principal who said, we were told to tell you that if any of those students who are going to college a half a day keep up, they will not walk across the stage and get a diploma. I thought, you're threatening my people. Oh!
Don't mess with my students.
I resent that.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no weapon in to be able to use it against them.
Yeah.
I had no way to convince them.
Right. Because it's important to point out that the way the district was paid was to have a student in the seat.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And the less students that were enrolled, the less money came to the parish.
Right.
And came through the superintendent's hands.
Right.
So what we actually did.
So the focus was not on the benefit of the student, it was on the money of the district.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And keep them in the line, keep them in class. And I knew I needed help and I could not do anything about it. So after a long thought, it came to mind that the press holds the power in this country. And I had friends in the press, including the editor, and told them the problem. Don't tell me they're threatening students. I said, indeed, they're threatening students. And, well, I'll see what I can do. So in the Sunday newspaper was a front page story. St. Landry Parish students excel. They're able to go to college and get credits and still go to high school. What a wonderful superintendent.
He's just fabulous. He's so progressive.
They praised him to high heaven.
Stroke that
and
superintendent.
I never opened my mouth once until 20 years later. And my phone rang about 3 or 4 weeks after that. At 9 o'clock at night. We never called.
No. That's so interesting about telephone etiquette and how it's changed.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he said, Miss Fletcher. Yes, sir. I don't know what you did, but you did it. I know you did it.
I know it's you.
And I said, Mr. Dupre, I don't know what you're talking about. And I just didn't say anything. I never admitted anything. I did not write the article. I just called it to the attention of the press.
Yes. That you're doing such a great job.
Oh, yes. And he had nice just poured all over him. Mm-hmm. So yes, we just let it be.
Always get more bees with honey than we do with vinegar.
True.
Yes. Yes. And so it was a man's world. There were no women in leadership.
No.
And so
unless you were the girls' coach.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right. Which you were not.
No.
And so in order to be the advocate for your students or anyone else, there was a different mindset. There was a different way to maneuver.
Yes, but you always have to look out for the possibility that there is someone out there who can really do you harm and bring it to their attention of somebody higher on the level. Mm-hmm. So you just walk a very fine line, but don't stop walking.
Yeah. And so how is it that you have helped so many through teaching and through counseling? And I have fond memories growing up. Everywhere we went, you knew everyone in town.
If I didn't know them, they knew me.
Yes. You have a high level of connectivity.
Right, mm-hmm. Because it makes a great deal of difference who you connect with. Mm-hmm. And it makes a whole lot of difference with being able to keep your mouth shut. That's
how you learn.
Yes. Don't tell everything to everybody, not at that time.
Mm-hmm. So, what are the lessons that you see that women need to learn today that are lost, that used to be done, that progressivism has changed, that you still see as needing today?
Prepare to earn a living for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out of high school, you have not achieved any big goal.
No.
Now, in many people's families, especially in South Louisiana, if the person has graduated from high school, they have achieved the family's goal.
Right.
And they have enough. This is not enough for women.
So what I'm hearing out of that is set your own goals.
Yes.
Don't let others set goals for you.
And I've got a rude awakening. I've spotted students that were in my classes that would have made fabulous teachers, that would have done well in anything that they entered. Mm-hmm. And their families refused, mm-hmm. even with my persuasion, mm-hmm. to send them to college.
Yes.
I'm sending my son.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't need to go.
Right.
And she that didn't need to go is now the #1 real estate salesman in this parish. She survived a bad marriage, and she's done well. Not this one.
No, ma'am.
Another one.
Yes.
And she was the one that I enlisted when I began to sell the property that you mentioned that I was in charge of. It needed to be sold. Mm-hmm. And she sold property for me, and she sold one of the lots in this subdivision. Mm-hmm. Very capable woman, mm-hmm. lived through every bad thing somebody else could live through. Mm-hmm.
And so, what are some of the things that you have enjoyed most of being a mother?
Well, my children are so fantastic in my eyes that I'm just sitting down and watching the show. They're very good at what they do. They all have a good, they've pretty well made a good living for themselves.
Mm-hmm. What have you enjoyed most about being a grandmother?
Seeing them grow up, I guess. And I've enjoyed the fact that they learned to drive and get to come visit.
Yes. And now you're a great grandmother.
And that's hard to believe.
Isn't it? It is.
But you have such darling children.
Don't I?
Oh.
Who have been the women that you have seen as your mentors?
I had 2 excellent teachers, and I know they don't have to be living people or even women, mm-hmm. but these 2 happened to be good teachers. Mm-hmm. They were neither one married, but they put their life into their work and helped us. Mm-hmm. Really did.
What is it that helped you find your strength, that helped you find that grit inside of you, that kept you motivated, that kept you going every day when sometimes the days were so tough?
Very tough.
Very tough.
I came to Louisiana from Texas, mm-hmm. because of the Depression. Mm-hmm. My father was a Louisiana resident. My mother was a Houston, which meant a lot in
right.
Texas.
Yes.
You don't dare fail as a Houston.
And when you say a Houston, we go back to the Sam Houston.
Correct. Mm-hmm. He was her great uncle.
Right.
We grew up thinking that was the grandfather, but it was his brother who mm-hmm. was our direct
I know.
person in mm-hmm. family lineage. But We came here at a time when my father lost his oil company in Texas that he had just started with 2 other men. And he had to go back into the very beginning of a job in the petroleum industry for men. You work as a driller, a tool pusher, or whatever. And he had to work his way up. I got to see my mother, who was one of the Houston beauties in her county in Texas, work in the field. Not as hard as some women have, but she had learned a lot from her family and she implemented it. And if it wasn't for her knowledge that she had acquired as a young person, I don't know how we would have survived.
Right.
Because my father was not a field worker. He started out young in the oil field in Texas. And he didn't have any background to bring to it. So she managed the house and the farm with help.
Right.
And from there, you learn to keep watching. So I learned from my mother, no matter how bad it is, no matter how much worse it can get, you survive. She was like Gone with the Wind. She was that tough.
Ooh, she was something.
Yes, she was.
She was. She was a spitfire. Yeah.
But you don't spit back.
Yeah.
You listen, you learn, and you keep your mouth shut.
Yes, ma'am. You definitely don't spit back.
Okay. Now, what have I not answered that you wanted me to answer about that question?
Nothing. You got it. You covered that. Don't spit back. That does that. What words of wisdom do you have for me that I need to know?
Analyze where the good things are coming from for you. Preserve those. Where the most difficult things that you find encountering, go to the Lord for help. You can do it.
Yes, ma'am. I love you.
I love you too, darling. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.